In this video, we're going to look at an example for Chapter 6 in Project Management, where we're talking about doing a project network. So we have this project here. We're looking at the design phase of the project, and the chief engineer has asked us to develop a project network plan to meet this requirement. So I've already drawn the project network plan here to save us some time. So we have the project network plan. We have our first step is A, and we can see here that A feeds into B, C, and D. Then E needs all of B, C, and D to be completed before we can move on. And E is then a predecessor to F, G, H, and I, and those all need to be finished before we could move to J. So that is our project network. Then the forward and backward path and activity slack looks at what is our early start, early finish, slack time, late start, duration, and late finish. So what we have then is these days of time here and how long it takes to complete each project when we're filling that out. We have 0 days in A because that's our early start and our slack. It's the very first thing we do. So once we start it, that's just how long it takes. So then we have that it's a 5-day duration. So our late start and late finish is 5 days, and our early finish is 5 days. Then we move into B, C, and D. B, C, and D can start any time that A is finished. So their early start is 5 days if we say that A has a full duration of days. Then we show that B takes 20 days. So it has a duration of 20 days. Its early finish then is 25 days. Okay. The latest it can finish depends on how long C and D take. So let's take our duration for C and D. So the duration for C is 30 days and the duration for D is 5 days. Therefore, C takes the longest time. So we have 10 days between B and C completion time. That gives us 10 days slack available for B to be completed without throwing off the amount of time required to finish. And between C and D, we have 25 days slack for D. So our late start for B is that we can start at 5 days when A is finished, or we can utilize this 10 days slack and start at 15 days. If we start at 15 days, then it will be day 35 before we finished, because we have a 15-day, 20-day duration, and 35 days. For C, it's going to take us 30 days. So our early start is 5 days. That gives us our early finish at 35 days. We have 0 slack. C takes the longest time. So in the process of B, C, and D, we have 0 slack, which gives us a late start and a late finish of 35 days. C is on the critical path. If we take any more or less time with C, we will cause the entire project time to shift. For D, we have 25 days of slack, so we could essentially wait until day 30 to start D if we wanted to. So that is our late start. Our late finish then for D is 35. And as D, our early start for D is 5, the duration is 5 days, so our early finish for D is 10 days. That brings us to E. E has 35 days We can't start it until everything is done. C has the longest time, 35 days. So our earliest and latest start, 35 days. We have 0 slack for E because there's nothing else that we're waiting for at the same time we're waiting for E, which makes E a critical process. The duration of E, we can see from over here, is 80 days. So the late finish and the early finish for E is at 115 days. Then we move into F, G, H, and I. The earliest we can start any of them is at that 115-day mark when we finish E. We have the duration of F is 15 days. The duration of G is 30 days. The duration of H is 25 days. And the duration of I is 15 days. So 115 plus 15 gives us an early finish of 130 days for F. We have day 145 for G, day 140 for F if we take 115 plus 25, and day 130 for I. The longest part of this process with F, G, H, and I is G at 30 days. So we have slack for anything that takes less than 30 days. F gives us 15 days of slack. We have 0 slack for G. We will have 5 days of slack for H because that's the difference between 30 and 25, and 15 days of slack for I. So the late start date for F is 130 days, giving us a late finish of 145. We have 0 slack for G, so our late and early starts and finish are exactly the same. Our late start for H is at day 120, and our late finish is at day 145. Our late start for I, given its duration, is at day 130, and our late finish is 145. So that gives us a start of 145 for J. J has 0 slack and a duration of 10 days. So all told, it is going to take us 155 days to complete this project. So when we've done our backward and forward pass, we've determined that it's going to take 155 days to complete this project. Our critical path is A, C, E, G, J.